Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about binging doesn't feel good. How about that? I said it. You are under the delusion that binging on food is really enjoyable and you've got to stop yourself from doing it in order to lose weight. And I'm here to tell you that binging does not feel good. And it definitely doesn't feel good when you're binging on processed junk fast food. You don't believe me? Pay attention next time you do it to how you feel 5 seconds after you take your last bite and then for the next 24 hours. So I'm not talking about weight. I'm not talking about binging isn't good because you gain weight. I'm talking about binging literally doesn't feel good because when you binge on food, you usually have a food hangover where you feel like shit for at least 24 hours. Now, you probably don't realize this because usually when you binge, you probably go and distract yourself with TV, phones, computers, beating yourself up, and you disassociate and you don't pay attention to how you feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. But I'm here to tell you every time you overeat unhealthy food, and honestly, even healthy food, but especially unhealthy food, you feel really full, you feel really tired, your brain gets fuzzy, you can't think as clearly, you think negatively about yourself because you're upset that you did it. Emotionally, you feel down, all down emotions. Your energy levels are less. And so you need to snap out of this delusion because if you think binging is so amazing and you have to stop doing it in order to lose weight, you're making it really hard for yourself. And for anyone that's told you who's stopped drinking, smoking, doing substances, yeah, maybe they thought that doing those things were really enjoyable. But once they stopped, they realized actually they're making me feel like shit. And it's the same thing with the binging on the food. And it doesn't take much to realize this. You've got the truth on your side. Eating this way feels like shit. I'm here to tell you. Now, you've been tricked in the world because we live in a world where we have been conditioned from birth by commercials, corporations, food companies, and all the people around us because they're conditioned with the same bullshit that the looking forward to the food and the eating the food is so amazing. And the more of it, the better. Oh my God. The more I can eat, the more enjoyable it is. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll grant you that. Fine. That's great. But would you agree that there's a consequence phase every time? Is there always a consequence phase? Is there? Or is there not? If you drink a bottle of vodka, is there a consequence phase or is there just the fun part of getting inebriated? Is there a consequence? So if there's a consequence phase to the food, it's there whether you pay attention to it or not. And your whole life, you have not been paying attention to it. You pay attention to the long-term consequence of, I don't like my weight, but I'm talking about the immediate consequence. I'm talking about the food hangover consequence that follows every single time that you binge eat food. Have you ever binge eat food and then when you were done, felt amazing, energized, happy, thinking positive thoughts, thinking all sorts of creative, great ideas, coming up with your best work, your most productive? You feel amazing, light, happy, healthy, connecting with people on a deeper level. Is that your consequence? Is that the result of when you binge eat on food? Or is it again a downstate? So if that's the truth for you, which it is for everyone I've ever met, then why do you keep defining binging as being so amazing and great, and that's why I can't lose weight? I would suggest that you start to reframe it and think about it in a new way. Because I think A, it's true, and B, it's obviously going to help you lose weight because you're not going to think, oh, I've got to stop myself from doing this amazing, great thing. Instead, you start to realize, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to do it. And you do this all the time with other things. Wouldn't you love to go on a shopping spree tonight when you get home from work? Wouldn't that be fun? Go buy everything you like, right? Why not binge on shopping? Well, why are you not going to do it? Why? Oh, because you're going to have to pay all that money back and then you won't have money and there's a consequence to it. And so you're focused on that consequence so you won't go on a shopping spree tonight. And you can insert whatever else you want to do here. You like to gamble? Go to the casino, risk it all. Go ahead. Wouldn't it be fun? So again, it's over and over and over again. Most areas of our lives, we've been conditioned to focus on the consequence, and that stops us from doing a lot of dumb shit easily, comfortably. But when it comes to food, we've been conditioned from birth to focus on just the excitement and anticipation of getting the food and then the enjoyment of eating it. And that's it. That's how we define food. But what about that next hour, that next 24 hours? Should you define your eating process by the whole thing, or should you just think about eating as the first part? Because if that's true, then start thinking about shopping that way. Start thinking about substances that way. Start thinking about all sorts of behaviors that way. Don't worry about the consequences. Don't even think about it. You don't want to ruin your fun. Just focus on the doing the thing. Now, of course, you couldn't even get yourself to do that because in the other areas, you've been conditioned to focus on the consequence. But when it comes to food, you never really think about the short-term consequences. And this is one of the biggest reasons why you struggle to stop binge eating, because you think that it's really fun and enjoyable. When in reality, it's fun and enjoyable for about 5% of the time. The other 95% of the time, you feel like shit, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so the sooner you realize that, the better time and easier time you're going to have mastering your weight. If you want, support with all this, I know it's a new way of thinking. It's different than you normally think, probably. Go click the link in my bio. Go get the hypnosis session I give you. It's free. Watch the video I made for you. It's free. Read the emails I send to you. They are free. I'm here to help you think better so that you can get better results. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. What's up, Rachel? I said, good morning. No, binging feels horrible and never brings me any joy or happiness. Agreed. Now, again, I get, I'm not going to argue, although it does change eventually too, but I will not argue with most of you. And it was this way for myself that fine. The eating process itself is fun. If that's you, I'll give you that. Fine. I won't even argue that. But are you going to tell me, have you ever once in your entire life binged on shitty food and for the following hour, 2 hours, felt better, felt good, felt brighter, felt happier? And if the answer is no, then why won't you believe this? That's so funny. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, so if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. Any weight loss questions you may have, no matter what they may be. Happy to give you some insights if I can provide them, because that's what I do. And so I hope you're all having a nice week. TGIF? I think so. TGIF. Most people I know are kind of having a better week this week than they were last week. I think it's normal. I think it's natural. I think January, is January the longest month? I can feel that way, right? So I think it's important that, we recognize that things are changing. The Thrive program, if you're in the Thrive program, I got the new success planner coming out. We're working on that, so that'll be coming up. Let's keep an eye out for that. What's up, Karen? Karen's side gym. I'm doing great in my journey. Thanks to you. Well, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Glad to hear you're back on track, right? Feeling good again. So that's natural, though. I always say that with this process, so much of it. I'm gonna move over here. I'm trying to stream this. My streaming setup is back up better again. But this process of weight mastery, and I was reminded, as Katie over there sent me the thing from Peter Attia, and it reminds me again that, you'll hear stories sometimes about how people, if you lose weight, your body set point is always going to try and pull you up. And again, the thing she had sent me was talking to, and I don't know how to say his last name, but Stephen Guyanet, wrote a great book. Of course, I can't remember what it's called now. Let me look it up real quick. I can't remember any book names anymore. It's kind of weird, but not really. I remember the best ones. The Hungry Brain. That was a good one, though, actually. And so he's a PhD. He's got the personality of a PhD. He's a low-key guy. But anyways, so again, the point he was saying is that, again, it takes more than just cutting calories. You have to transform your calories, and you have to some degree, transform your environment, AKA lifestyle, in order to maintain the weight loss. So again, that's why in Program Yourself, then I teach that. Now, I don't have a PhD, but I have a PhD in weight mastery, I guess, if there is such a thing, because I've talked to so many people and studied weight mastery for so long. And so I've been studying people that have lost weight and kept it off for so long that I already knew that. That's why it's in the program. But again, it's nice to have it validated. So I share this with you because this is just one more reason why your diets are never going to work anyways. So yeah, there it is. Yeah. Christina. It's okay. Yeah, Christina, I see what you're saying. I don't even understand. I was thinking today, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with these fucking apps. Sometimes I just don't know if it's worth the struggle. What am I trying to do here? If you are in the Heartbeat app, if you could answer that survey, it would really help me though, because that's kind of helping me figure out what to do there. But yeah, if you anyway have any questions about weight, let me know what you're thinking, what you're struggling with. If you're even trying to lose weight, I know there's a lot of apathy these days with the weight, I get it. Because now you start to realize, oh shit, I don't want to go in the injections, and that's the only way that works. It's not. But diets don't work either. And so that's why I'm here every day to kind of help you out with a new way, so you can realize it. But more often than not, your weight loss struggles come down to you don't know how to lose weight, if that makes sense to you or not. But trust me when I tell you. Baby Z says, hi, you look amazing. Do you have any tips for bulimia? I don't really work. I don't work with eating disorders, although to some degree, most weight related issues are kind of technically an eating disorder to some degree. Don't get mad at me. Not to that extreme though, but whatever. But no, I will say this though. I will say that I think a lot of the eating disorders, one thing I could offer, and is not my specialty, so I just want to make crystal clear about that, but I've had a few conversations that people have said have been kind of helpful. One thing I would put is that, with Program Yourself, then we take the weight loss, we wrap it in personal development. And I think the purpose of that is that the weight in and of itself is not the goal. The weight's a means to an end. And so just because you're a certain weight doesn't mean everything's amazing. And so, if you think just getting to a certain weight is going to make your lack of health and happiness better, it's not. And you probably already know that. And so again, if we change the goal to be, I want to be at a weight that makes me the healthiest and the happiest and give me the best quality of life, if that's the goal weight we're aiming at, instead of just some arbitrary number that you think you need to be for the world to love you. And I know there's other reasons why. I know sometimes, that there's a hating ourselves thing and want to punish ourselves. I know there's a lot of reasons for that, but I do think if the goal is pure and better from the beginning, it can help with even that stuff. But again, I think everyone has a hard time choosing the right goal weight, which is why, again, I'm working on, and I have my AI clone that's going to help you all choose the right goal weight. And I don't mean to keep teasing you. I'm getting stuck on these apps I'm working on. I know it's going to be worth it. I know it. But it's stopped me from getting that part going, but I will get that going for you. Danielle says, hi from South Africa. TGIF for sure. Love that I happen to come online when you're having these. Yeah, that's great, Danielle. I'm glad you can hop on here. And any questions you ever have, ask me. I find so many people with the weight loss just suffering for no good reason. And again, if you're watching this right now for any period of time, I already can psychoanalyze you from afar. Not psychoanalyze, but I know your type. I bet you're an overthinker. I bet you're kind of a perfectionist, kind of a type A, action-oriented, focused person, but you're not losing weight. And that's kind of my client in a nutshell. And I find that I'm able to help these people master their weight by teaching them a new way to master it. And even you're noticing I'm using the word master your weight, not lose weight, because it starts right from that point that my goal isn't to help you lose weight. My goal is to help you master your weight. The difference being that weight loss is all about getting to your goal weight, and weight mastery is all about living at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. And that's probably a distinction you never ever hear. And it's one of the reasons why you struggle, because your whole sole focus is on losing weight. You have probably lost weight a number of times and put it back on. And now you struggle to even get started because you don't even believe it's going to last. So what's the point of doing it? And you feel completely apathetic and frustrated and like nothing's ever going to work. But it can. You just need you need to walk a different path. You're completely have the wrong goal. And that's causing you to use the wrong strategies. And so you're too smart not to, if you have the right information, you'll get the right results. The problem is you do not have the right information. You think you do, but you do not. And that's why you're not getting the right results. And so I get out here every day to try and share what I believe is the right information. And I really believe it. I don't just make this shit up. I didn't just pop on a TikTok and social media and just start saying this. I've been doing this personally for 30 years, privately for 20 years. and I've done almost 6,000 private weight loss sessions. So I have a very unique take on things because I have a very unique history that not too many people have. And so I think that I'm able to help a lot of smart people. Now, if you're not an overthinker, I don't think this is the plan for you. I just be front and center with that. I don't think this is the strategy because there's a lot of thought and effort in it. I think of it as like college for weight mastery. And in our program, we have the weight mastery pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, eating. And we go through that strategically to set you up to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And so I know a lot of people that don't really like to think a lot don't really jive with that. And I get it and I understand it. So it's not for them. But if you're a thinker, this for a lot of thinkers is a godsend because it becomes finally something that makes fucking sense. And you need something to make sense, right? Because you're a smart, intelligent, successful person and probably in a lot of areas of your life, except for the weight. And it doesn't make any sense. And to be honest, you're probably tortured by that thought. I bet 50% of your weight related thoughts are probably, what the fuck? I did this, I can do this, I can do this, but I can't get my weight under control. And I bet a lot of your thoughts revolve around that. So again, it's not, your weight issues are not because of willpower and discipline and self-control. It's much more that you don't really have a good strategy. And when you do, everything's different. Danielle says, is it true that our bodies are trying to get back to that higher set point you mentioned? It depends. I mean, I want to give you a simple answer, but it's a more complex answer. But the short answer is yes and no. That's not a great answer. So yes, your body, when you're overweight and you lose weight, your body does biochemically, hormonally seek to get you back, psychologically seek to get you back to a higher weight. So yes. However, you can strategically, with a holistic, comprehensive approach, mitigate that. And so, again, what I'm trying to tell you is that dieters, 95% of people that diet that lose weight, put the weight back on. It's estimated 85 to 95%. Okay. And what makes what I'm talking about different is I don't study those people. If someone tells me, oh, I just lost 30 pounds last month, I don't give a shit. I don't even ask them what they did. I don't care at all. What I care about is people that have lost weight and kept it off for at least a couple of years. Then I say, okay, what'd you do? And then I go in depth with, what'd you think? And I get into a lot of detail with it. And that's what my whole program is built around. And so, yes, to some degree, our bodies absolutely do fight to get back to a higher set point. But if you strategically influence your eating, your lifestyle, and your mindset, you can manage that. And so again, that set point, it's all three of those things. And I think personally, the number one factor of that set point is psychological. It's your self-image. It's how you think about yourself. And I think most people that lose weight think they're going to lose the weight and then become this whole different person. And I can tell you categorically, that's absolutely false. And you know this yourself. You've lost weight. Did you turn into a different person? Or when you lost the weight, did you start thinking like, when am I going to put it on? I don't want to put it on. I hope I don't put the weight on, because you still thought like an overweight person. So again, the big difference with dieting is that you think like an overweight person. And when you diet, you just don't think like an overweight person. And what Program Yourself Thin is all about is, how do I think like a thin, healthy person? So that mindset piece is really, really, really important. And then obviously the lifestyle piece is really important. And I say that, and which goes to another point that I want to make, is that most people approach weight loss like it's a sprint, right? I just want to get to this point. I want to get to my goal weight. I want to get there as fast as possible. Well, then what? Well, then I'll just have it figured. I'll just be at my lower weight. And it's very short-sighted. And so I hate to tell you this, but I'm not, again, I take the no bullshit oath here. Your weight mastery is a never-ending marathon. It never ends if you want to live at your goal weight forever, which I'm assuming you do. So, you always have to manage this. And I do. And so, if my lifestyle starts falling away in certain ways, I notice my eating starts to change. And so I know some people, oh my God, forever? Yeah, forever. I mean, you got to brush your teeth forever. You okay with that, aren't you? So yeah, but I think that's real. Would lemon break intermittent fasting? I don't even know what that means. Oh, like, are you going to eat a lemon? Elodie says it's motivating to lose weight quickly. That's why. I get like it, like it's not to me, because I know now, like I know fast weight loss is fast weight gain, if that makes sense. So I know it's motivating. I get that. But is it motivating anymore? Yeah, again, most of my clients are usually 40, 45 plus, and they can't get themselves motivated to do anything anymore because they've lost weight fast a number of times and then put the weight back on fast a number of times. And so now they subconsciously associate weight loss, fast weight loss with failure. And now they say, "Oh, what's the fucking point? What's the point? I'm just going to lose. I'm just going to put back on." So I understand it's motivating, obviously, to get fast results, but diets are a get rich quick scheme, and again, we want to get rich quick. We want everything fast. I get it. I'm not arguing against that. Human psychology is what it is. But I think it's important to realize, we got to think like adults at some point. And just like, maybe some of you are all into like get rich quick schemes constantly, but at some point you got to realize this ain't working for me, and say, and come up with a better strategy. But I do get yelled. I obviously that's exciting for people. You said yesterday, you said 10,000 steps wouldn't help with weight. Would you need to walk more? No, what I meant to say is that there's a theory called the constrained energy expenditure theory, which is basically that your body just habituate to whatever activity level you have and you stop burning calories from it. So weight loss is not about increased exercise primarily. And I'm not saying don't exercise. There's a lot of benefits to exercising. Weight loss is not really one of them. So yeah, you're much better off focusing on reducing calorie consumption, your average calorie consumption, than you are putting energy into exercising and steps and all the rest of that shit. Especially if you're lazy. I'm super lazy. And so my strategy for 30 years to master my weight has been to master my eating, because I don't like going to the gym and working out. Now I got different motivations now, so I just got my shoulder surgery. So I'm getting back. I'm just starting to. Actually, it's pretty exciting. Oh, is it exciting? I had a bum shoulder for 4 years. And by bum shoulder, I mean, I had a calcific tendonitis. So it would be this shooting pain down my arm and in my shoulder when I would try and do things. So anyways, it's very exciting. I just started kind of working on some of the resistance training, and it's very exciting because I'm weaker, but it's not hurting. So I'm very excited. But yeah, but my entire 30 years, I have lost 50 pounds for 30 years. I've kept it off. One blip 12 years ago, but I've done that with virtually no consistent form of working out. I do a lot of yoga, but it's the most gentle yoga on the planet. So I'm not burning calories. What I've done is I've mastered my calorie intake. I've mastered that side of the equation, which I think is the better side of it anyways. Because again, as you get older, it's harder to work out like a maniac, and you're going to get hurt sometimes and you're going to get sick sometimes. So I think mastering your eating is the much more strategic, smarter approach to mastering your weight. Again, I'm not saying don't exercise. Please understand that. I'm saying for weight loss, increased exercising usually doesn't seem to result in more weight loss. And go look it up. Go look up constrained energy expenditure theory. And they've done a lot of interesting studies. I mean, they've had people, they put women and they started running women that weren't even active. And then in over a year, they started increasing their activity levels to that of almost running a marathon every week and equivalent. And they didn't lose any more weight. So it's crazy. I know you probably wouldn't believe me. I didn't believe it. And so again, not saying not to exercise. I think there's a lot of benefits to it that support weight loss. But the main thing that's going to control your weight loss is the eating. And so if you're at 10,000 steps, I think it's great to walk 10,000 steps. There's a lot of benefits to it, but it's not necessary to lose weight. And more steps, I would suggest you put that energy and time into cleaning up your eating. I think you'd be better served with that. Babies says, that's amazing advice. You helped me a lot. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Lesher Faye, how's it going? What would be a good strategy to cut down on binging if you still want to enjoy something sweet or salty? I know you preach replace, remove, reduce, but even when I reduce, I still crave more. Yeah, well, reducing, again, out of reduce, replace, remove, removes the hardest, reduce is the second hardest, and replace is the easiest. Okay, because when it comes to reducing, in your mind, you have a program of how much you think is normal to eat. And so anything under that is going to feel weird. And that's part of what you're dealing with. So I like replacing things more. Now, again, I find it interesting to cut down on binging. That's what I started this call with, is talking about binging is not really enjoyable. And we're getting into semantics here, but I think it's very important. Semantics are really important. And people that think they aren't, I don't understand why you would think that. But so again, I'd want to rephrase that question. What would be a good strategy to moderately eat something sweet or salty? That would be my question. I wouldn't want to know how to like cut down on binging. I don't like that. I don't like that phrasing much. It confuses your brain, right? If that makes sense. Because it's like if I say, how do I slow down my speeding? Well, I go from 85 to 75, but my brain still thinks I'm going to be speeding. You see? So I'd want to say more specifically, how do I eat sweet and salty things occasionally more moderately? And then I'd start from there. And I would focus more on the replacement process. But on top of it, I would ritualize it to some degree because you're going to have to practice it. Again, the idea of practicing eating more moderately seems so crazy to people because most dieters think they just need to know what to do and then they'll do it. And I don't know why exactly, but they do think that. So no, you need to practice new eating patterns and eating sweet and salty things more moderately. You're going to need to focus on it, set an intention, set a plan up, a strategy, test it out, see what works, see what didn't, optimize it, do it again, do it. But then I say, oh my God, fuck that. I'd rather just do keto. Oh, that sounds like too much work. Oh, well, no, because once you figure it out, and it doesn't take that much time and effort, but once you figure out a strategy that really works for you, now you got it. And now you're like, oh, Jim, hey, now I can have something sweet and salty occasionally and I eat it moderately. It's amazing. I don't feel deprived anymore. This is great. So again, we're looking for long-term solutions. What a weird idea. I don't know why it's a weird idea, but just kidding. I do know it's a weird idea because you've all been trained to think like dieters, but so I hope that helps. But if he eats, flesh or faith, focus on the issue which makes you binge. The root cause, basically, why are you binging? Stress, loneliness. Yeah. Now, Flesher, when you said that, I didn't really think of it the way you said it. I didn't really think it was like a binge eating thing almost. I thought you were using binge almost for I overeat it, but binging behavior, yeah, is different. There's usually, it's kind of an out of control eating thing. And again, I think what Nivi eats says is right, that if it's a binge behavior or out of control, then I think that, yeah, you want to look at what's kind of triggering it, your hunger level, your emotional state. Is it a habit? So, yeah. Okay. And then Flesh Ray does add that. So yeah, habit and loneliness, boredom. Yeah. Mostly on the weekends. Yeah. So again, Flesher. So, that's another piece of it. So now I'm kind of giving you two answers. But I'll stick more on the emotional eating, binge eating side of that piece is that, yeah. So when it's a habit on the weekends, loneliness and boredom kind of trigger it. So the answer isn't the food has nothing to do with this answer. And this is true for all your emotional eatings. If any of you consider yourself emotional eaters, and if you're overweight, you should, because if you didn't emotional eat, you would just eat what your body needed and you'd be at your natural weight. Okay. So almost all weight related issues are emotionally based in some way or another. So the answer though isn't to stop emotional eating on the weekends, Flesher. Right? Because then you'll just be a thin, lonely, bored person. And that's not really what you want. So instead, what we want to do is look at the weekends and say, I get lonely and bored. And so how can I resolve that? What do I want to feel on the weekends? Well, I'd like to feel connected and loved and happy and excited about things. Okay, great. How can I do that? Maybe I'll make plans. Maybe I'll call someone. Maybe I'll do something. I'll volunteer. There's a lot of solutions that are genuine, that aren't food related, that'll resolve that emotional issue. And then you can start thinking about the food thing. That makes sense. Ellie says, my strategy is eating carrots and cucumber sticks. They have to be ready in the fridge, dipped in Greek yogurt and chives. It stops me from eating chips. That's a great strategy. Yeah, that's a super strategy. When Naveed says, when you feel like binging, keep reminding yourself that you're addressing that loneliness. It's not about the food. Never really. That consciousness helps me. You got this. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. But again, it's not, it's not just awareness though. You understand? It's not like you start to feel lonely and bored. It's not going to be enough to just be like, nope, this is just loneliness and boredom. I'm not really hungry. I'm just lonely and bored. Don't eat. That's not going to work. You need a real solution. And the solution is that you don't like feeling lonely and bored. So the question is, what do you want to feel? That's the first step. What do you want to feel? And I'm not being snarky with this because everyone has a little bit slightly different what they want to feel. And so you have to identify, what is it I want to feel? I feel bored. I want to feel entertained. I want to feel stimulated. I want to feel curious. I want to feel interested in something. I feel lonely. I want to feel connected. I want to feel loved. I want to feel, connection with someone, and the more specific you get about the emotions that you want to feel, that's the first step. Well, I want to feel connection with someone. Okay. How can I feel connection? I mean, there's a million ways to feel connection. So again, this is a solution-oriented mindset. Right? We start with the problem and we shift it over to a solution. What do I want to feel? How can I feel that? And it's not, it takes work. I'm not saying like it's just a magical cure, but I'm saying it's a magical process to get you to the cure, like guaranteed. Like, I mean, literally guaranteed. It's not rocket science. It's just we've never learned how to deal with our emotions in this country. Mr. Rogers was the closest we got, and he was for kids. We've never learned how to deal with our emotions. I tell you, sometimes I'm this close. I got to get a couple things kind of locked in with Program Yourself in here, but I'm this close to like doing a hypnosis generalized like podcast and channel. And because I could talk about emotions all day long, and just all this stuff in a different context all day long. But the emotional piece I'm fascinated by, because to me, honestly, that was the beginning of my journey. I know I lost the weight and I'm healthier, and I know that part. It's great. I love that part. But it really, what led to all that, what made it even possible, is I was able to deal with the emotions in me. I was an emotional wreck. My father died when I was 9, and other bullshit. And it's like, I didn't know how to deal with any of it. And so I used food and alcohol and crazy behaviors to do it. So it wasn't until I could really genuinely start to resolve my emotional shit that I had any chance in hell of getting a handle on my health, my happiness, my weight, all these other things. And so I try to talk about as much as I can, but obviously I'm talking through the paradigm of weight here all the time. But it would be interesting to be able to talk about more generalized things. That'd be kind of fun too. Faye says, yeah, it's overeating, not binging. Thanks for the rephrasing. That's a much better strategy. Yeah, great. Again, words matter. Whoever, I wish I knew who the fuck said it's just semantics. I mean, semantics are everything. Words are literal auditory anchors in your brain. If I say the word banana, I make your visual cortex light up with a yellow fruit. If I say soccer ball, you get an image in your mind of a round ball, black and white, probably with hexagrams on it, so it's like, words are really very, very important. So if anyone ever says it's just semantics, feel free to tell them they're really important. What it means, that makes sense. Address the loneliness with a great rephrasing. Yeah, great. I'm glad you guys appreciate that. Yeah. Rephrasing is everything. Reframing in the program is probably one of the most powerful kind of psychological tools that we use, in the program. Neely says, I know what to do, but it's almost like I black out when I'm stressed and just don't care. Yeah, absolutely. And in the program, we call those eating trances. And we all go into eating trances constantly. You've been hypnotized your whole life, folks. I mean, again, I know I say this all the time, but as a hypnotist, I thought I was going to hypnotize people to lose weight, but it turns out it's much more about waking them up out of the trances they're in. You've been hypnotized by the food industry, the diet industry, to think like an overweight person. And don't you find that like you're doing great on your diet, and all of a sudden you basically, it feels like you almost black out or turn into a different version of yourself. And next thing you know, you're eating a bunch of bullshit, and then you finish and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? You ever felt that? Well, that's real. Again, you're a hypnotic being. You're a hypnotic creature. Let me put it a different way. You live your life mostly on autopilot. You're not consciously making logical decisions about every little thing you do. It's estimated we make over 200 food decisions a day. You're not even making a fraction of those consciously. They're all running on autopilot in the background. That's why Program Yourself In aims at reprogramming your subconscious mind so that you think, live, and eat like a thin and healthy person. Dieting doesn't do that. Dieting just says, let's fight against your subconscious programming that's there. And Program Yourself Thin says, let's install some new subconscious programming that makes you thin and healthy and keeps you thin and healthy. That's why you never keep the weight off, folks. It's because you never change your subconscious programming. You just fight against it for a little while. And your subconscious programming, your weight is a direct reflection of your subconscious programming. And you can fight against it all you want. It's not going to change. Everyone agrees with that. It doesn't mean you can't change your weight. It just means you need to do it differently. I know, you're right. John just says, Jim, you're constantly looking to debate with dieters, but you've scared away all the dieters. I know that. I know. I get too aggressive sometimes, I think. And who the hell would want to talk to me about dieting at this point? I know. Because it is, I live in my own little world here. You understand? Like I live in my own little world where I work with my clients and, I'm always talking about weight mastery. And so I live in that paradigm. And so, yeah, I don't get a lot of people talking about their diets and defending their diets and stuff. And I'm open to it too. It's funny. Like, my friend out there talking to me yesterday about something that they disagree with that I've been talking about lately. And I'm so open to it. I really am. And I don't think it comes off that way, but I really am. I'm absolutely, I change my mind constantly. So I do have an open mind to lots of things. And if someone gets on here is like, Jim, you're wrong about the keto diet. It's really amazing. Like I'm open to hearing that, but you got to be open to hearing my responses too. But I would love to hear anyone, if they think dieting it is good. And they just, no, Jim, the diet's good. I just need to get myself to stick to it. It's what it kind of always boils down to. And, yeah, I think it is kind of, what can oh, there's Julia. Bull crap. Exercise is extremely important to weight loss, Julia says. Julia, like exercise is extremely important to weight loss. Based on what? What's that based on? Like I don't mind. I love it for the few times. I will say the few times people have gotten out here to argue me about diets, they've, they say I'm full of shit. The few times it's happened, they've always come around and been like, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying. I mean, those of you who've been here, you've seen it, so I'm not revising history. Like I don't mind being wrong. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So the idea that exercise is extremely important to weight loss, I don't know what you're basing that on. I can say, like, I can look at my history working with all my clients. None of them start exercising a lot and they lose weight. So why would you say exercising is really important to weight loss? Again, I'm not saying exercising is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think exercise has lots of great things. But what I'm saying is all of you out there, I could put you, all of a sudden you put me in control of your food. You live your normal life, but I'm in control of your food. And I dial your food down by 25%. You don't exercise at all. What do you think happens? What do you think is going to happen, Julia? Yeah. I know the answer. Karen, you love Mr. Rogers too? I did too. I'm so thankful I got to grow up Mr. Rogers. I feel so happy about that. Yeah. Tip says 90% nutrition, 10% exercise. It's 100%. Again, I'm not, listen, again, I think exercising, it's fine. Like, again, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to prove a point. So I'm not saying don't exercise. Please understand that. What I'm saying is I will take any person, and if I reduce their calories by 25% and I don't let them exercise, what do you all think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think? And I think this is an important point, folks, because why? Because I think if you think exercise is really important to losing weight, I think that's another reason you're not going to start losing weight. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, you're going to lose weight. Exactly. Will it go faster if you add some exercise? Yes, but is it mandatory? No. Yeah, Karen, I lost all my weight with no exercise. Yeah, you lose weight, less food. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, will you lose weight with more exercise? Let's talk about that for a second, because it's not as clear cut as you've been led to believe. I know I keep saying this. I'm gonna say it one more time. Exercising is great. Okay. But let's talk about exercising. What happens in the weight loss context a lot of times, right? So the first thing is when you start exercising, you haven't exercised, now you start exercising. And when you you tell me, folks, just let me know, when you start exercising to lose weight in the past, when you've started, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I need to exercise to do it. When you have started exercise, do you start exercising a little bit, a medium amount, or a lot? Please let me know. Okay. So you start exercising any one of the three. Now you're burning more calories. Agreed in the beginning. And what happens when you burn more calories to your hunger? Do you think you get hungrier? Okay. You get hungrier. Do you get more tired when you start exercising? Do you get more tired? I know you get energized. Okay. Do your muscles get sore? Do you get sore? Do you get more uncomfortable? Do you get a little more tired? Do you have to use a lot of willpower to get yourself to exercise? And then there's the licensing effect, which is the kiss of death for most people. And the licensing effect is, oh my God, I worked out for 45 minutes and I burned 500 calories. I'm going to eat that muffin for 200 calories. But in reality, you burn 200 calories and the muffin's 500 calories. So, you know, and then there's the constrained energy expenditure theory. So again, I would rather take all of that energy. I'd rather avoid most of those things in the beginning. Now, again, I love walking. I think walking's the smartest thing for most people to do when they're starting to start moving more, get the blood moving, lighten your brain up, feel good. It's easier. You know, I think these things are good. But I think for most people starting to, jump into an exercise program is detrimental. How about that one? I'm going to go all the way to say it's detrimental for most people. Physically, again, I think there's lots of benefits to it, but I think most people, again, well, what is all your experiences? I love people. It's like, it's funny. Will it go faster if you had some exercise? That's why I say, will it go faster if you had some exercise? Will it? Are you sure it'll go faster? It'll go faster if you're really good at tracking calories and you don't start eating more because you're going to be hungrier. And then you got to fight against that. Dot says, I'm 5'2". Should I be eating 1,200 calories for weight loss? I mean, I would never approach it that way personally. So again, I don't count calories. I think counting calories has a very poor track record for long-term weight success. My approach is I like for you to start where you're at, and not by focusing on calories, but focusing on your behaviors. And I would say, because we all eat in patterns. We all have patterns of eating. And what I would suggest is that you identify your 1 and 2 worst eating habits and go to work on your first worst eating habit. Whatever your worst eating habit is, snacking at night, overeating at dinner, grazing during the day, whatever it may be, I'd go to work on fixing that behavior. And I wouldn't worry about 1,200 calories. So that's not going to work for you. It doesn't work for anyone. And when I say that, it works for 5% of the people on average. So not very good. You get hungry. Yep. You think you can eat more. Yeah, exactly. The licensing effect is that you think you can eat more. Exactly. And you're hungrier, you're more depleted willpower wise, because you use your willpower is not an unlimited resource, folks. I think a lot of people think of willpower as this non-physical force that you can tap into. Your willpower is a prefrontal cortex process, and it's not a muscle per se, but it works very much like a muscle. And if you deplete, they've done studies on this where they'll give people like math questions. And so they use a lot of their conscious energy, and then they'll tempt them with stuff. And the people who do math problems end up eating a lot more bullshit because they don't have the willpower to stop themselves from things they use to do math problems. So when you start getting yourself to exercise, which for most people is a lot of work, now you don't have as much to stop yourself from eating bullshit, and you're hungrier, and you're more tired, and you're sore, and you're uncomfortable. And so do you all not, has that not been your experience? Have you, what? I want to start working out, losing weight, and you fucking love working out, and you're not hungry, and you're just like, you feel amazing right from the beginning. And it's like, again, I'm not saying that you won't get to a place where your body adjusts to and you feel better and you can get to all those things. But for the first month or two, no. And so again, it's not necessary. And I don't think it's a good idea for most people in the beginning. So Gary says, yes, the calories need to stay the same. But you know how hard it is to keep the calories the same? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, again, back to the set point thing. If you believe in set point, but you don't believe in exercising making you hungrier, and then your body wanting to eat more calories, and you're going to try and fight against that. Jody says, I love the back and forth yesterday. I was up in the middle of the night thinking about it. I was too. I really enjoyed that, Katie. But I it's funny because I was watching those videos you sent today, and I'm like, It is funny. Like I think I kind of I listened to that and I got a sense of what you were saying. And what I was thinking you were saying is that basically it doesn't make any sense to look anywhere in the past because that was the old way of how we had to eat and live. Because it almost wasn't possible to get that much protein a day in our bodies until pretty much recently, the last 40 years or whatever. And so now, we'll see where this goes with this hyper protein fixation. And so to your point, probably there are no populations we can reference because it's never really existed in this way, I guess. But he did say, right? Did you heard him say that the protein consumption can be a factor if you want to lose weight because it's hard to reduce the calories. You heard that, right? So there's that too. So your goal might have to change from weight loss to a muscler. Toasted bagel with cream cheese. What's up? 1,200 calories is for a 5-year-old. Where have I been? Where have you been? I'm here every day. Jim got a chain. I did get a chain, but I've had this for a long time. You've been where you been? You've been out eating bagels and cream cheeses, not coming to my lives. I'm here every day. Every day, every fucking weekday I'm here. What am I doing? I got stuff to do. I'm just kidding. I love being here with you all. No numbers for toasted bagel. I actually didn't get this chain. I had this chain. I had this chain when I was growing up and stuff, and I had it. And then I don't know when it disappeared, but then my son, he's like, oh, I want to wear a chain. I was like, I got an old chain, and he's like, I'm gonna wear that. And I'm like, I'm gonna wear it. I'm like, I'm giving you this chain. It's a nice chain, man. That says it's very hard to stop emotional eating while going through a hard time. Yeah, agreed. I don't disagree with that, but it's a lot harder to stop emotional eating when you don't know how to deal with your emotions. See, you are trying to deal with your emotions through emotional eating, folks. Let me frame it a different way. Your emotional eating is your best emotional management strategy that you got, most likely. Like, it's probably the thing that you're most certain that you believe in the most is actually going to help you manage your emotions. So when you feel sad, you can go eat and you feel a little better. When you feel any emotion, I can eat, I feel a little bit better for a little bit. It's not genuine. So I get it. I don't disagree that it's hard to stop emotional eating when you're going through a hard time. But again, the focus is wrong. When you're going through a hard time, the focus for me wouldn't be to stop emotional eating. The focus for me when I'm going through a hard time is how can I meet this hard time in the most effective way possible? It's a completely different question. And so a lot of times I will tell you that answer is I want to get more sleep. I want to nourish my body. I want to meditate more. I want to just kind of center and ground myself more. I want to take better care of myself to meet the challenges in the best way possible. But you see, because again, the emotional eating is a symptom of a deeper problem. When you emotionally eat, you're not really dealing the whatever hard time you're going through, the emotional eating is not making the hard time any better. It's just distracting you from it for a few minutes. So you get a few minutes of relief. And then as soon as you're done, you come back and now your hard time's even harder. Because now you feel like shit about yourself and you're mad and your weight and you're all the rest of it. So again, the emotional eating makes a hard time harder. So, Carrie says, I'm not saying I can do it, but it's possible. Well, again, I think that's the mantra of a dieter, right? I think that, and again, I'm not against, I think exercising is great. I think there's a time and place for it. But if you have not exercised in a year and you want to lose weight, I would strongly suggest you do not start with exercising. Exercising isn't what makes you lose weight. A calorie reduction is what makes you lose weight. And you say, yeah, but I burn calories. Yeah, but then you get hungry and you eat more calories. Well, I'm not gonna. Yes, you will. And then if that's the case, then why don't you just cut the calories down? And you know what? How about, here's the litmus test. Fine, go exercise. But how about this? How about if you don't exercise this week, then next week you do what I tell you to do and just focus on eating less. I think a lot of you, because you've been conditioned to think I need to exercise to lose weight, you make it twice, I think 3 times harder. I think it's so much easier to influence your eating than it is to what are you going to do to exercise? You got to learn what exercise to do. You got to join a gym. You got to drive to the gym. You got to get the gym clothes. You got to go there and feel weird. You got to feel sore. You got to feel awkward. You feel uncomfortable. You don't like it. Whereas just the eating, it's just you by yourself. I got to figure out how to, I think the eating is way easier to me than all of a sudden starting an exercise routine. And I think, you're all thinking, because again, what are dieters? Dieters are all or nothing thinkers. So it's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right, Jim. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do it. Okay. It's and I can say this now in sales, we used to call it mental masturbation. You're just like in your head thinking about this perfect scenario, but you never do it. So any of you out there that think exercising is the key to weight loss, but you're not exercising, if you don't exercise starting this next week, maybe you say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to exercise, which is fine too. All I care about is weight loss. I want you to be healthy and happy too, but I'm more focused on weight loss than muscle building. Well, that's not right. That's not. Hey, listen, there's plenty of people talking about weight or about muscle building. So go listen to them. That's just not what I do. I'm focused at program yourself thin. I remember I did that series, The Elite Body, with all the muscle people, and they didn't like my perspectives on things, which is fine. We're all get to have the freedom to think what we want. But if you got this idea in your head, and this is just part of that whole diet bullshit of the before and after picture, that you're going to go from being this person who's overweight to this person who's a fitness trainer. It's like, how long and how much effort and shit that takes. Most of you are never going to do that. Don't get mad at me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it for a long time. I wish I had abs. I never did it because I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't need to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. I don't need to look like that. I know I'm breaking everyone's dreams right now. Exercise can up your cortisol. Yeah, absolutely. Especially again, my clients, that's what they do, because they go into it too hard. They go into it so hard, they stress themselves out. Yeah. Yeah. Toasted Bagel says exercise low key would be torture for me. I know it's not the right thing to say, right? Because aren't you supposed to pretend that exercise is so great and I should do it and I gotta get myself to do it, and then you just never do it? And it's like, we got to live in reality here. Doesn't that just destroy your dreams when you're like, oh, I'm not going to look like a fitness model? You know what a lifestyle is? Like, I'm at my goal weight. I'm a yoga instructor. I literally teach this shit for I've been obsessed with this for 30 years, and I'm not like cut up and jacked. I mean, I'm strong enough. I'm fine, but I don't look like a fitness trainer. And what I'm trying to say is it takes so much. That's what you got to understand in life. It's like, to me, it's like to kind of get good results, better than average results, is relatively easy. To get amazing results is really hard. And I'm not discouraging you from doing it. I'm just saying, just know that. So it's like, if you're 40 pounds overweight, to get to be 40 pounds overweight to look like a fitness trainer is a real tall order. What do you want? And the truth is that you probably don't even give a shit. That's what I came to realize. I was like, if I had a six pack, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? I'm without my shirt on, where anyone would see me 6 days out of the year when I go to the beach. Other than that, like, oh, he's slim. This whole fucking bathing suit thing anyways, and then you go to the beach and you realize you go to the beach and it's like, there's always some other person that's like more jacked up and more in better shape than you. And so you'll always feel bad with that measurement stick. Shireen, all right, let's get into this. Thank you for the book recommendation, Proteinaholic. I'm kind of one. My son, too. It is an eye-opening. I always ignored the feeling that eating this much protein can't be good. Plant-based is hard, but better for body. I train my muscles. That's why I think I need all the protein. Right, Katie? So there's a paradigm here, right? And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could absolutely be wrong on this. This is not my specialty. Muscle building is not my specialty. So I will be the first to admit that. But I know enough to know that sometimes our protein muscle goals can get in the way of our weight loss goals when we feel like we're not even hungry, but we got to get that protein bar in. I don't know. It's hard to serve two masters. I don't know. Yeah, I get you, Shireen. I'm curious to see what your thoughts on that are. Again, I'm not, I want enough muscle to be, have a great quality of life, but I just think sometimes, I certainly know as a guy, I will tell you that as a guy, I think women have way more pressure on them in society. But as a guy, there's still pressure, and it's the pressure to be big and strong. I don't know. So you can fight everyone, I guess, and letting go of that was hard for a while, believe it or not. Because why? You just feel like, oh, I could get beat up. It's like, yeah. Then I studied martial arts, and that kind of that I think was a big part of why I didn't really give a shit about the muscle anymore. Because I started realizing studying martial arts, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do stuff. And then you start to realize like there's always someone better than you, anyways. And then you start getting paranoid about fighting all the time. And then I said, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to fight anyone. I don't want to fight anyone. I know it sounds just thinking out loud, but what I'm trying to say is, and I say this a lot, that a lot of stuff that stops us from getting the results we want are these dumb subconscious ideas we have that we're not even aware of. And so imagine at one point, like I was nervous about losing weight and getting smaller because what if I get in fights? I'm thinking that as a 25-year-old man, who the fuck am I going to fight? I'm just, it's embarrassing to say this out loud, but I'll just say it. And, I don't know. I just think we think some crazy stuff sometimes, but I love muscles. I'm not sitting here saying I want you all to be frail, weak people that are just thin. Which is why, again, I know the whole thin word, is a real loaded phrase. And, again, I don't want people to be, decrepit, broken people that are just thin. Again, my definition of thin is you at your goal weight, and your goal weight is the weight that gives you the best quality of life. And a big part of that quality of life is mobility and strength and flexibility and movement and, all of those things. Carrie says, I'm an athlete. I've always had to work out because I ate whatever, but then injury happens. Yeah, exactly. I've seen people cry at the gym. And I found you and I realized I can lose without exercising. And it's so liberating. Exactly. And I'm like the poster child for that. Cause I haven't done, now listen, I've done the P90X shit for a couple months or whatever. I've done stuff randomly, but I don't stick with it. Cause it's so intense, like for my body, it just doesn't feel good. And, I think that, yeah, I will say the protein thing just real quick on that one. Cause I was thinking about that it's like to eat that much protein. I was thinking even the video I watched today, Peter Attia, it's like this guy is constantly eating protein. He's constantly eating like venison sticks and he's trying to eat 180 grams of protein a day. And it's like a job. And I'm like, anything that feels in my life, what I live by this, and I could be wrong. Okay. But it's like when I'm constantly have to obsessively fight to do something, like I avoid it. And so for me to eat that much protein be really hard. And I just think that makes it feel like it's unnatural. Like if you're trying to force yourself to do something, it just, cause the way I eat, like I just do it. I love the way I eat. I just flow with it. It's very easy for me. Very easy. I'm flowing through my life with my food. And I say that I'm 1000% honest with you. And I haven't flowed in my life with food. And so I know what it feels like. And so I love what I eat. It feels good. I feel good. Most of the time I'm making really good food. Sometimes I don't, I screw up like everyone else. And when I do, I don't feel good. And when I'm eating my thing, I just love how I feel. I feel amazing. And I go by that. And so will I feel amazing? And all of a sudden, I hit a certain age and I didn't have protein for the last 30 years. My body just falls apart. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I don't. And I base that on there's a lot of societies of people that did have really long health spans that lived a long time and had a great quality of life the whole time. Now, again, women might be different and all the rest of it, but I don't know. And again, I don't want to get into this because Katie's probably screaming at the things. It's no fair to have like a one-way conversation. Shireen says, fight. That's hysterical, right? It's so silly. It's again, we say silly things in our heads sometimes, and I'm no different. I say the dumbest shit probably out of anyone. Cappuccino says, it's always hard for me to say no and stop being greedy. I don't know why food feels so important. See, I when you say that, it breaks my heart because it's not you being greedy. That's literally, I always say this, but it's like the reason I'm here every day for free to try and help you all is because it's the mindset a dieter lives in day in and day out. It makes me sad because you're always blaming yourself. You know what I mean? And you're like, I don't know why the food feels so important. Well, what food? I'm going to guess, Cappuccino, the food you're referring to are processed foods, junk food, fast food, foods in boxes and bags. And these foods are literally engineered to get you to overeat them, And I think that it's like, and you've been conditioned your entire life to be fixated on food and use food for emotions and use food, for every single thing possible. It's constantly around you. It's just, it's, I don't think people see it for what it is, and, so it's to say, like take some of the blame off yourself. You're not being greedy. It's not 'cause you're always, feels foods are so important. You see thousands and thousands of food ads every day. Do you know that? Because every time you walk in a convenience store, that's 1,000 ads. You don't even think of it as ads anymore. The packaging alone is an ad designed to trigger our cravings, our desire. And then there's the actual ads. Then there's the actual seeing people eating this bullshit. So, we're surrounded constantly by all this messaging to get us fixated on food and get us to overeat. So, I say that to you that, so that you stop blaming yourself or your willpower anyways, that's what dieters always do. They always blame their willpower and their self-control. So, I don't know. I hear you though. I know it's hard, but I would say, Cappuccino, go check out my hypnosis session, and just experience a different way at least. Watch the video I made. I give you kind of a breakdown of a different way to do it. Toasted bagel cream. Who doesn't want to look like Brad Pitt? Exactly. I would love to look like Brad Pitt if I could just snap my fingers and make it happen. But I'm not willing to dedicate my whole life to it because I don't give a fuck. I'm not Brad Pitt. I would dedicate my whole life to it, and I'd look and I'd be like, oh, look at me now. And then I'd be like, oh, I still look the same. And I'm still a married guy who's 50. No one gives a shit. Who cares? I think we've been conditioned in this environment to live in fantasy land. What do they call it? Fusion identity fusion. And so it's like we identify, I'm gonna be a movie star in Hollywood. I'm gonna have abs. I'm gonna look like Brad Pitt. Everyone's gonna love me and want me. And it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? No, and no. Again, we just been, oh God. We live in a toxic food environment. Absolutely. We live in a toxic environment. Let's be honest. Peggy says last year, AARP was promoting a diet that focused on getting protein and fiber to prevent losing muscle with aging. Yeah, great. Again, I love protein. I don't know. Cause listen too, I come from the old school of, I've seen a lot of yogis, a lot of martial artists that are older, a lot of hikers that are older, a lot of people at the YMCA that are older. And this was before tons and tons of protein, and they're strong muscle, everything. I get it. I just think once again, whatever, I'll leave it alone, but I am going to keep researching it because I want to make sure again, my quality of life as I get older is the number one focus of my life. But I just don't believe that having a mainline protein is the answer to it. And I don't believe that because I can look at a number of populations around the world where they are aging wonderfully and they're not mainlining protein. So. Yeah. Yeah. We live in a toxic food environment. The normal reaction to that is gaining weight. How else would you explain 75% of the population overweight? Yeah, exactly. So the environment's changed, but our brains haven't. So that's what, again, the, down. Oh, yeah, the Cheney kid. I knew it, Katie, right? Making you nuts. But I was thinking that, Katie, right? You said protein's not meat, but it's a full-time job to get I don't even know. Could you get 150 grams, 180 grams of protein a day without eating meat? That's a full-time job, no? Yeah. Yeah. User says I can't stop eating even if I eat a lot of protein. After a few days in a deficit, it's unbearable. Yeah, there we go. That's because, again, protein's not the main thing that's going to satisfy you. The main thing that's going to satisfy you is fiber. So, yeah, fiber is the secret. You guys, I will tell you one thing, and this, I'm not a protein master, but I am a keto's a piece of shit plan to lose weight master. And so I know, user, as soon as you say that, I know you're talking keto, carnivore, Atkins, paleo. And yeah, that's exactly what happens is you feel full at first, partly because you just feel like shit and you don't want to eat anything. But yeah, the secret to satiation, to feeling satisfied and full, is whole foods, natural greens, beans, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. That's your secret weapon. Starchy, fibrous vegetables, fruits, beans, greens. That's your secret. Because those sit in your gut longer and they fill you up. You create more GLP-1 hormone with those things in your gut, and you feel fuller. They've done study after study where they have tested different diets, and they can have someone on a plant-based diet. They'll say, eat as much as you want, and they will consistently consume less calories just naturally and automatically than the people on the low carb diets, on the low fat diets, all the other ones. So, yeah. Yeah, there you go, Shireen. Of course, protein's helpful, by the way. Of course, protein's helpful. Protein's very important. All the macronutrients are important. But let's be honest, what I'm speaking to specifically is the diet, the predominant diet philosophy at this moment in time is that carbs are bad and protein is good. And so I'm speaking to that generalization. I think protein's very important and good. I don't think we need as much protein as they say you do, though. So, and I will tell you this, and this is anecdotal, so don't take this for what it's worth. And I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have never tracked my protein ever in my life, not even one time. And I used to be a big meat eater. I just want that to be known. And I just have never tracked my protein. And people say, how do you get your protein? So, you know, and I'll tell them I know the things I eat that have protein in it, but I'll be completely honest. I don't fucking know. I don't know, because I don't even know how much protein I get. Am I withering away to nothing? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out, because you hit 50 and all the muscle disappears, right? We'll see. That's just making me laugh. It's funny. Incognito. Can you elaborate on it's hard to serve two masters? Love that. Yeah, it's hard to serve. It's hard to try and get 150 grams of protein in your body every single day and reduce your calories. That's what I think. That's the serving two masters. I think some people are in a pickle because they're trying to get a ton of protein in their body, not just from meat, and they're trying to reduce calories so they can lose weight. And I think these things are bouncing up against themselves a little bit. But it doesn't have to. I think there needs to be a goal. The goal needs to be, I want to be strong like bull. That's a goal. Or I want to be lighter and slimmer. I want to be both. Okay. Well, how are you going to eat the protein of a strong like bull person, but then want to be slimmer? I don't know. I find them conflicting a little. But I'm still researching it, so I'll get back to you on that one. No, I'm not making fun of you, Shireen. I know, and Shireen thinks I'm making fun of her, and I'm not. I'm talking. I'm talking to someone else. But I guess a lot of people. It's a lot. So here's what I'm learned this week. This is why I love what I do. I love what I do with a passion, because what I've come to realize this week, without having seen this, is that because to be honest, in Program Yourself Thin, we don't go into a lot of specific dietary advice. And I'm very intentional about that. Program Yourself Thin is a diet agnostic program. I will work with anyone. So lately, oh no. Uh-oh. It turns out bulls are vegetarian. So let's take that back. Strong like lion, right? Lions are meat eaters. That's a funny one. Yeah. So I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist, and I'm very clear about that. And I don't need to be to help you lose weight too, by the way, because I've helped lots of people lose weight, and keep it off. So yeah, I don't usually get into the nutrition stuff specifics, but I've been reading this book, Proteinaholic, and I've been talking more about that lately. And I thought it was really interesting because, again, everyone's got their studies. And so, this person's pointing to their studies, and I fully admit I've got confirmation bias. So I'm a vegetarian, pescatarian for 25 years. So it just kind of explains a lot of what I've experienced and what I, kind of say. So I've been really big on it. And so what it's made me realize, though, is that especially I've always known it for men. Like I knew it for men. But what I realize now is that there's a strong belief system for women that as you get older, the muscle's really important, for obviously your quality of life and things like that. And that having a really high level of protein is how you're going to support that. And so, yeah, that's what I'm realizing. And so, yeah, again, this is not my expertise. I'm reading a book on it. And it's kind of interesting. I'm talking about it. It is my lifestyle. So I do, again, I can look at it and say, well, it literally just matches up exactly with my experience of life, and, some facts, again, the blue zones. I'm a big fan and believer of the blue zones. If you ever read that book where, again, I know people argue against it. I don't find those arguments very compelling, but they went to 5 areas of the world that had the highest percentage of people that got to 100 years old, and a healthy 100 years old. Okay, these people, they went and interviewed them, and they're all high quality of life. They weren't people, infirm and in bed lying there. What do you do? I hate beans and yams. It wasn't like that. These are healthy, vivacious, 100-year-olds, And so they go to the 5 areas, and without exception, all 5 areas of and maybe this was a completely biased book, okay? But all 5 areas that they went to, it was all very high carb diets, low protein. They didn't eat a lot of meat. Sardinia, Okinawa. And again, this was done probably 10, 20 years ago. So the centenarians they're talking about, had an older way of eating on top of it. You know what I mean? So if you go to Okinawa now, it's more westernized, it's more modernized. They don't eat as healthy as that generation did. Okay. But what I'm saying is that they go to these places where people, because most of the world, that's the diet they ate. The American high protein diet is an outlier diet that really can only exist with a lot of income. It takes a lot of resources to eat a lot of meat. And I know you can get protein other ways, but let's be honest. I mean, the most concentrated protein is coming in meat form. And so it takes a lot of resources to eat a lot of meat. And most of these places didn't have a lot of resources. They didn't eat a lot of meat. They ate a lot of plants and vegetables. So, anyway, so I referenced that stuff, and I referenced my own experience, and my own experience is that without tracking any protein at all, I feel great. Am I the strongest guy in the world? No, but am I a weakling? Man, maybe I am. I don't know. And I'm moving on. Don't talk about it anymore. Elaine says it seems like a trend now to fixate on protein. It's absolutely a trend. That's kind of what I'm saying, though. It's absolutely a trend. Uh-oh. Bulls get protein from greens, but how do they get enough protein? Okay, I'm going to stop. I can't. I'm going to stop. I got to stop. How can we stop addiction to processed sugar? Well, I think that's a great question. And I think, the answer starts with your question. The addiction to processed sugar. How do we deal with addictions? I would suggest the first step is to start weaning it down to some degree. But before you can make that even happen, Instagram froze up. Before we can make that happen, I think you need to start thinking about sugar differently. So I would suggest that you go research what sugar does to your body and your mind and what it does to this. Because sugar is a very unnatural substance. We've only been eating sugar in any form of quantity for 100 years, say 150 years. Before that, it was only in certain areas of the world. It was like a fine spice, so we've normalized sugar into everything now, but it's a very unnatural substance to be consuming so much of. And I think, you have to realize we live in a culture that's constantly normalizing it. We're giving to our kids, you know what I mean? Like everyone's eating it. Everything's great, benign. Don't worry about it. And I think the first step is to realize, just like cigarettes, right? People were smoking at way higher levels because they didn't realize how bad the cigarettes were for them. And so I think a big part of reducing the cigarette smoking rates was educating people. So that'd be my first suggestion to anyone that wants to reduce sugar is to start learning about it. Because again, you've been born into a sugar bubble where you just think it's fine and you just, it's normal and I've been doing it forever and whatever. So you don't appreciate all the negative effects it has on your body. And I think when you start looking them up, that's the first step. And then strategically starting to cut the sugar down, I think is a good one. I don't suggest for most people completely cutting it out. I think that the sweet spot for most people seems to be to moderate it. People say, well, I tried moderating and I ain't good. Well, most people don't know how to moderate. So, you got to practice moderation, but I think that's the sweet spot where you have a little bit of, a little bit of sugar here and there, but you learn and practice moderation. It seems like the sweet spot for most people. But again, I think the first step is to really, kind of look at sugar and see what it does and take it from there. Oh, it's okay. Sure, you can, but you have to use supplements like powder, which you also don't like. Agreed. Keto Atkins, it's all trash, never works long term. Yeah, but again, I mean, once, to me, like once you have to start using supplements to get to some, I'm going to say arbitrary number, and I'm sure there's lots of studies where that comes from. I mean, Peter Attia is a super smart guy, so I'm not out of hand dismissing it in any way. But I'm just saying my paradigm is anytime I can't just do it kind of like the protein for me. That's why I try to say, like the way I eat, I don't even measure it. So I don't have I don't have any anxiety about it at all. And so I wouldn't even think about a supplement because I just don't give a shit. So, but it's like my mom said, that's why they have different flavors of ice cream. That says almost everything is processed. Well, I mean, almost everything that's processed is processed. I mean, again, I know what you're saying. I'm joking. If you go to the supermarket, 90% of it's processed, so I get it. But that's another paradigm, and I can tell you because I've stepped from one into the other, and I'm still stepping into it, into the whole food paradigm. And so it's like, yeah, when you first, as a typical American, when you first start this journey, everything seems processed, and I get that, and it seems that way. But as you become more and more whole natural food, plant-based with your diet, you start to realize, that becomes your reality as well. And so, yes, almost everything is processed. So start to add in some whole natural foods into your diet. And then you're going to feel amazing if you start doing that. Yeah. It's going to help with your weight too, by the way. Joey says, I think there's a distinction between meat and protein. So when you talk, you do probably get a lot of protein through plants and beans. Yeah, of course you do. But I don't think I would ever be able to hit the levels that they're aiming at with just plants. I don't know if I could get 150 grams of protein. I'm going to have to chow. I was thinking that today. I hate tracking so much. I'm like, I don't even want to do it one day. My brain hates tracking so much. I love structuring, which is funny. It's a more vague way of doing it. But the idea of tracking what I'm eating, it's hard. It's not very much protein. So we will see. But I don't know. Someone that knows more about protein and vegetarian stuff would have to let me know if you could, how hard would it be to get 150 grams of protein from a plant-based diet? I don't know. I will find that out though, because I'm curious about that. The fact that plants do contain protein doesn't have an ad campaign. This is true. It's true. Yeah, everything has like the protein in it, but again, it's not the levels. So it's the levels that's the part I'm curious about. So yeah, but again, and what I also want to say, and I want to just reinforce this, and I know Katie knows this, but I want everyone to know this that I don't sit here and I don't have the answers to this. I got the answers to your mindset, and I will let you know that. But when I'm talking about things I'm not an expert in, I want to just make that crystal clear. And I'm just having conversations, and I'm just sharing my thoughts on it. I'm not saying these are right. When it comes to mindset stuff, I feel a lot more like I will be a lot more certain about that. I believe in that stuff a lot more because that's what I know and I've seen and I do day to day. So I just want to be crystal clear. I want this to be a conversation. And I think in our country, I think being able to have a conversation with someone that you don't necessarily agree with is a skill that we could certainly work on a bit more. So again, I just want to make that clear that I respect all you people. I respect Peter Attia as if that's a person that you're learning from. So anyways, muscle doesn't disappear at 50. It becomes much harder to put it on and maintain it after 50. Yeah. No, I know that. And I am fascinated by that. So I will, that's definitely, and I've known that and I've seen that. So I am curious about it, and I will tell you where I'm going with that almost probably this weekend. I'm going to research it. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to, now I already know what the answer is going to be. Like I was going to look up some vegan bodybuilders, But again, I'm going to imagine that they're probably supplementing or something, but whatever. Like I said, I'm fascinated by it. And who knows, I might come back Monday and all of a sudden I'm on protein again. That's why I don't talk about what to eat, because I don't want to be on the hook for that. Now I will tell you how to master your weight. That I know how to make you do. Which foods to eat. That's why I always tell you, I don't give a shit. Eat what you want to eat. It's not, I don't like doing it. It's not what I like to do. And it's not what I do. It's not my expertise. So again, but don't be surprised if I come back here on Monday and I'm all about protein. So I that's why I tell you, I'm not out here teaching about what to eat, because I reserve the right to be able to flip. I'll flip whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want. That's not what I do. However, you will not see me getting here next week and saying, don't worry about your mindset. You know what? Your lifestyle doesn't matter. You structuring your eating. Don't worry about that. You'll never see me say that stuff. So the things that I'm rock solid about are the things I teach. And here, I want to make this crystal clear. This is just a conversation because of a book I read. I just want to make that crystal clear. Oh, thank you. Tapping the likes. I appreciate that. Yeah, Shireen says being able to eat without anxiety has to be freeing. You would have to eat more processed plants, fake burgers, more tofu. Yeah, exactly. And I don't find myself moving in that direction. I will tell you, I find myself more and more. And again, I haven't explored this, but I love this book I'm reading, and I love that Katie brought this stuff up to me yesterday. And the Outlive book from Peter Attia, I got that one already coming in. So I'm always keeping an open mind of what to eat. I say this all the time, and I want you to see it firsthand, that I believe my path of weight mastery, health mastery to some degree, is the main mileposts of it are my ignorances. That I kind of judge where I started from and where I'm at now by like things I thought were right that weren't. So it's happened so many times that I very rarely hold on to specifics with both hands. Like I said, my processes, my strategies and systems, I do, you know what I mean? Because I've seen them work so well, but I always keep an open mind, because I tend to find that's against the Mark Twain quote, it's not the things we know for sure. I get this. It's not the things we don't know that get us in trouble. It's the things we know for sure that just aren't so. And so I'm so keenly aware of that I'm always on the lookout for what my biases are and how they might be messing me up. That being said, I find myself going the other direction anyways, that the less I think about protein, the more I just eat in a more intuitive, natural way that just feels so easy for me. And it's hard for my brain to think that's not the right way, because I have, and even, what's funny too, is like I was a raw foodist for a while. And so I know what it was like to do something that I thought was really healthy at the time. But I know what it was like to feel like I was constantly fighting myself. I was constantly fighting my body. And I think that was because I wasn't getting enough calories, and I probably wasn't getting enough protein. Maybe that's part of that too. But I know I wasn't getting enough calories, and I was obsessed with food, and I felt myself constantly fighting myself. And that was such an important, profound concept, such an experience for me, because from that I took that I have to listen to my intuition. Every time I've listened to my intuition, everything goes a lot easier for me. And so I have found that the more I just eat now, this is me. And again, I think people are different. We know this too. And I've said this before, that becoming a vegetarian for me was extremely easy. Like, and again, I like it. It's like, it felt like just sexuality. Like you just kind of are what you are, and I just felt like as soon as the possibility to be vegetarian opened up to me, it just felt very natural. So, again, I think people are different and stuff, but my guiding light typically is how I feel, and I kind of flow with my eating, and that's really how I aim to do it. So, because I think it is great, that, being able to eat without anxiety has to be freeing. It is freeing, I think it really is. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so someone wrote, Robert Cheek, vegan bodybuilder, used to use powders and met 300 grams protein a day, not natural, and now does 100 grams as a bodybuilder. That's interesting. And that's exactly what that's where I want to go into. I'm really fascinated. I know we're not gorillas, but gorillas just eat leaves. And it's like, I do wonder about all that. So anyways, you need to post that quote on your monitor. Which one? I don't remember. Darren Olean, vegan fitness guru. Yeah, check him out. And again, I'm not a vegan either, by the way. You know what I mean? Like I eat a little bit of animal products. But yeah, now naturally at 100 grams. Yeah, as a bodybuilder. Yeah, that's what I was interested in. Yeah, that was what I was interested in. Is that 100 grams? Like, how could you be? Because wouldn't that stand on the face of that? Like, how could you possibly be a bodybuilder with 100 grams of protein a day? Okay, yeah, true. I absolutely am, Katie. I would agree with that. I'm going into research to prove my own bias. I absolutely am. But if I prove it, I mean, hey, whatever. I'm done too. I know we got to stop talking about this. All right, everyone. I got to get out of here anyways. I got stuff to do. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. I do appreciate this. I really do. I really, really do. It does help me become a better version of myself. So, I thank you all for this, especially you, Katie. Thank you for expanding my mind, and you absolutely have. So, I appreciate that. And if you're not in my world, go click the link in my bio. Go get the hypnosis session. Watch the video I made for you. Read the emails. This is a live I do every Monday through Friday. So if you want to talk about weight loss, have questions, pop on here and ask them to me. If you missed this, it's a podcast. You can go listen to it on the podcast platforms and go check it out. And yeah, have a super weekend and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.